Hi everyone, Stephanie Giannini here from IVATI, and today we're going to be doing an episode of IVATI Inspires, and the topic today is leader identity. Now this concept is so key to anybody's leadership development, anybody's leadership journey. Your identity is so important as a leader because you need to realize that you are a leader. So this is truly the foundation when you build a house surrounding leadership. Now, who is a leader? What does it mean to lead? And the definition is quite simple for what leading means. It literally means to influence. You can influence a person, you can influence a group, you can influence a whole society, a country, but it really is to just influence. So that's why there are such things as bad leaders. And I think leadership has such a positive connotation that everyone thinks if you're a leader, then you must be so fabulous and you don't make mistakes. But there are plenty of bad leaders that we see every day. We see it in the news, we see it in our governments, we see it in our homes, we see it in our communities, we see it at our workplace. We see it in so many ways. Everyone's a leader in some aspect. But are you a good leader is the question. And I think knowing your leader identity is key. Because if you don't believe you're a leader, then you're going to lead poorly because you don't even know what you're leading to begin with. So I want to tell a quick story that really sparked my leader identity. So I had always envisioned a leader as the boss, the outgoing one, somebody who wasn't afraid to have conversations, somebody who was ready to get in there and take charge, the captains of the sport teams, the people always at the top positions. And I thought that was something that you were just born with, that you were just a natural born leader, which in some cases that is the case. Now, somebody is me who grew up, I was super shy. I didn't like working in groups. I was very much more introverted, and I never saw myself as a leader. So when I found myself at 22 in my first position in school nutrition, I found myself in a management role. And this is my first time managing people. Now at 22, when you're managing people who have children your age, that is very hard. It is hard to see yourself as a leader because I was always so used to turning to other people to help lead me. Let's just say it was about maybe a month into my new role. I was just getting to understand the school nutrition program I'd be working with, really was just starting to meet the staff, and one of the kitchen managers broke her knee. And I mean, really broke her knee. And so she was going to be out for 6 months. And so somebody needed to manage that kitchen. Now, immediately when I saw my boss look at me, I knew that I was the chosen one. Now, just because I had some good experience, I wouldn't say I definitely had all the knowledge or experience to run a kitchen. So this was a huge learning curve for me. I mean, one of the hardest 6 months of my life, but one of the most valuable experiences of my life. I learned so much about leadership and taking on challenges and facing fears. Filling in for this kitchen, I really relied on the staff to help me. For so long, they were leading me more than I was leading them because there was so much that I had to learn. They helped me order food, helped me understand the systems, help me forecast, help me deal with conflict. One of the employees who just is so near and dear to my heart had a really great conversation with me. I was really starting to doubt myself as a leader because I saw all these other people above me, my superiors, who had this aura about them, who had this experience to know what to do and to direct people in a certain way that I never felt comfortable doing. And I remember telling the specific individual, how could I ever be in that position, a top position? How could I ever be a boss? I'm not like those people. I'm not somebody who is, what I thought was a leader, is more aggressive, more forthright. I'm too sensitive. I'm too sweet. And one thing that she said to me that has stuck with me since that day was she told me, you have to understand that a lot of that will come with experience and age. True, I was only 22. But another thing she said to me, she said, your strength is when you come into kitchens and you come and work next to us, you don't make us nervous. We're not messing up and fumbling over ourselves because we're scared of you. You make people feel comfortable, and you make people feel comfortable enough to share their ideas and to come to you when they have issues. And that is your strength as a leader. And that completely changed my whole perspective on what being a leader meant. I mean, she really kickstarted my whole leader identity because it made me challenge the way that I had always envisioned what a leader was, because we see the quote unquote boss that we see in movies, television, reality TV. And like I said, oftentimes we see it in our own workplace. Why I share that story is because we as people need to understand that we are leaders in so many different aspects. You are a leader in your family, in your relationships. You're a leader to your pet, to be honest. You're a leader at work, whether you think you are or not. It's not a job title. It's not a role. It's not a salary, and it has nothing to do with how many people that you work with or how many people that you direct. Being a leader is all relational. It's all how you influence people. Even kids are leaders in their own right, and how they influence each other is very important. We see peer pressure all the time. I would say the kids who peer pressure other kids to do things they're not comfortable with are poor leaders and don't even realize it. Why this is important is because you can't lead if you don't even think you're a leader. And we really need to change that perspective. And who you are as a leader professionally might be different who you lead personally. So I could say how I lead with my significant other, how I lead my dog might be very different than how I lead people at work. We have to get rid of that idea that it is a job title, that it is this fancy word that only the highest, most qualified people get to be. No, everyone's a leader in different ways. People who may never want to make a decision or never want to call the shots are still leaders in other ways, because you might be the person that people come to on the side because they're comfortable to share their frustrations with you. You're leading in that moment. And oftentimes, if we don't realize that we're leaders, we're going to lead in a very poor manner because we don't realize the influence we have on others. We don't realize the power that we have as an individual to change the course of time. That movie with Ashton Kutcher, The Butterfly Effect, and how a single moment could change the course of history. And so, yes, we're not making monumental decisions. I mean, some of us maybe, but those little moments of how we influence others, how we influence ourselves, how we influence society can really change the course of our lives and the course of other lives. And that's why we need to be aware of how we are leading others, both personally and professionally. And lastly, I really want to talk about how we lead ourselves. Regardless of where we are in our leadership journey, we are the number one leaders of our lives. And sometimes we are poorly leading ourselves. And what I mean by that is, what are we telling ourselves? Are we constantly talking down to ourselves? Are we constantly self-doubting? Are we seeing ourselves through such a negative lens? Because if you are, you're leading yourself in such a poor manner. And we need to lead ourselves in a strong way, a positive way, to really achieve our highest potential and to really take charge in what the universe, or if you believe in a higher power, has set up for you. It's key to know that you have more control over your life than you think. And yes, there are certain things that we can't make magic happen. We can't tell what the future is, but we can choose how we react. We can choose how we lead ourselves through tough times, through great times, through change. That all comes down to leadership. And that's why it is so important for you to know, for me to know, for everybody to know that they are leaders. And it is our job to improve as leaders. How are we gonna do that? Well, I'm gonna give all tips and tricks and hopefully open your eyes through IVATI and this channel. But I think to start, look in the mirror and know that you're a leader and tell yourself that. Sometimes it really is just fake it till you become it. You need to tell yourself that you're a leader. And we also need to celebrate ourselves. Celebrate when you lead in such a positive way. Celebrate when you impact somebody in a positive way. But also acknowledge and embrace when you were a poor leader, when you were maybe a poor communicator, when you shut somebody out, when conflict came at you and you just crumbled. Maybe you exploded on somebody, or maybe you just weren't your best self and you weren't leading yourself or leading others in a good way. Embrace failure as a learning lesson. It's not a failure, it's a learning lesson. Think of how you lead people. Think of who you lead the best and who you could probably lead better. And maybe that's yourself. So with that being said, that is our episode of IVATI Inspires today. I encourage you to follow my Instagram, visit my website, and please subscribe to this channel. I'm gonna be making way more videos. And don't forget, we also have IVATI Invite episodes where I invite leaders from all walks of life to share their story.